Hey there, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here, Simply Worldbuilding. Today we're going to dive in and kind of polish off the gods, the deities, the titans. So that's the subject that we're going to do now, and that should be pretty much a wrap, I think, for sort of like the base level stuff before we can start diving into deeper specifics and things.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think this is a good place to kind of end off. I think we'll probably summarize when we're finished, like kind of what we have up to this point. But this is kind of getting to be our first pass over the world before we, go over it a second time and start to get more detailed.
Come back for those dangly little threads we left.
Yeah, those little dangly little hooky threads.
But for today, we still have a little bit of stuff that we skipped over by accident or haven't talked about for gods and deities and titans and stuff. That's what we'll do today.
Let's get into it. Yeah, the first thing I did want to talk about, because we were talking about it in a previous episode, but we never really finished the thought, was the idea of like Titan blood and what that means to the people who have it. Because so there was this one Titan. Actually, we never figured out which Titan that was either specifically. So I guess we can figure that out. But so I did have a couple of really quick thoughts though.
Right.
So at the very least, so a Titan had like sort of half human children, and now this sort of person with Titan blood in them has existed, but now that they've had their offspring, it's kind of spread throughout humanity a certain amount. Now, what is Titan blood? How does that actually affect a person?
In my mind, it went pretty much right to like they have offspring one actually had like physical, like maybe they were big. Maybe they were big people and like you could kind of tell. But when it starts getting more and more diluted, I think that it kind of, they become like able just to completely blend in with society, except that they are likely still stronger, faster, harder Batman.
Yeah.
But they're kind of maybe predisposed to be like hero types or villain types.
Yeah.
But also potentially like kind of maybe semi an avatar for like what the god or the Titan like represented.
Yeah.
But I do think that basically at a basic level they're like a little bit stronger or whatever still and are predisposed to be like, you know,
have a destiny.
Exactly.
That is exactly, I agree entirely. That's what I got to too, because for me the reason that is the thing is because we were talking about how Titans differ from people in the first place was the fact that they don't necessarily have free will. They have like a will and a personality and like stuff like that, but they are also sort of bound to a destiny.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a perfect way to translate that into a half human, half Titan is basically a person, but they're a little bit more predisposed to how they say it in Pirates of the Caribbean, have a touch of destiny.
Yeah, true.
So that's perfect. That was kind of what I wanted to figure out on that and just kind of establish. But so now the question is though, which Titan are we gonna use? Because we have a good dozen.
Immediately without... Oh, did we do a Titan of, like, love? Was that one of the ones we did?
I don't...
The Titan of Love would be one of Marilith's Titans because he was the...
It was Love, Life, Spring, and Lost, Death, Winter. I think we easily bisected those.
I think that Love and Life and Spring kind of fits the MO as well, because it was either that or Fate in my mind that would kind of immediately have like, you know, even if it's not free will, that kind of does fit into their MO, like love and life. And so they love humans and they create life, you know what I mean?
It's because the whole idea is that like, they have this sort of programming and there's always the rule that they're like not really supposed to do anything.
Break the rules.
Exactly, with humanity. But I could see with that, like the loving humans, the wanting to create life in the first, especially knowing how powerful you are comparatively. It's like, well, I'm not going to be around forever. So the immediate thought is like, well, how can I protect future generations?
That's exactly.
I can imbue them with the power that I have so that when I'm gone.
Exactly. And it's not even love as in like the, oh, I want to have some, you know, sweet times with these humans. It's like, I love our God's creations. I love these sweet little guys, you know, and I want to protect them or whatever. And I want to protect life and that sort of thing. And so it was still kind of within like their actual, you know, programming to do that kind of thing, even if it was like, you know, you're not supposed to do that, but it kind of does fit their scheme.
Yeah, totally. So that would make a lot of sense.
That one or Fate, but I don't think we actually put Fate into a Titan specifically.
Yeah.
That we left as like one of the overarching god things.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Let's go with that. I don't remember what name we gave them off the top of my head, but we know the aspects, and so we can just touch on that later. Perfect. Okay, so that's most of what I just wanted to touch on with Titan blood and stuff like that. But it was just such a cool concept that I couldn't help it. We have to nail it down for sure. The other thing we kind of never really finished on was the idea of the gods being like planets and stuff like that. I did think it would be cool, if we designed what those planets would look like and sort of, what it means for them to be planets as well.
So you wanted to have, if I remember this correctly, the planets be significantly more visible and like close, but not so close that despite it looking cool, is hard to disconnect that.
Gravity?
Yeah.
Gravity is a difficult thing to disconnect from.
It's hard to suspend the disbelief that the planet is that close and there's no bad things happening.
Yeah, exactly. Like the planets, it would be cool if like they were like visually, like maybe the size of like the moon,
totally.
On how, like not physically, but how we see it, like perspective wise.
Yeah.
Or they can be a little bigger or a little smaller or everything, but it just gives them a little bit more of a feeling of importance for sure.
I had another thought as well.
Yeah.
I'm no astrophysicist or whatever, so I don't know how this works exactly.
Yeah.
You can correct me or whatever, but I think it's a cool idea to have them have like, oblong orbits, so that like sometimes they are closer to our planet, the the viewer standpoint, and so like if the planet that represents the god of war is close, and that's a bad omen because that something bad is going to happen or something like that, and if the is further away or whatever, and it's in that portion of the orbit where the god of luck and fortune or whatever is closer, you're like, it's gonna be a good season, like we're all gonna be happy, we're gonna find what we need to find, we're gonna make money, we're gonna be safe and happy and healthy.
We're back. We're so back.
We're so back, baby.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and that's just an easy way to like, add like a physical distance to it or something like that. Because I did kind of briefly start looking up like how planets got, because like I kind of get constellations and stuff like that, but that's like way more distant stuff, and our position relative to them isn't fixed, but it's relatively consistent. Whereas like planets are also stuck in the same sort of loop-de-doo that we are, so it's harder to figure out like what, like I don't think it's going to be necessarily seasonal or anything like that, like it is with the stars. So either way,
once every 17 years or something like that, the planet of the god of war is drifting back in, and that's a bad time or whatever, bad omen. But on the topic, before we get too far away from that, and not that like the people in this world or this setting need to explicitly know this, other than maybe like the preachers and the people who are actually involved in that, but I think that maybe it would be cool to have it so, or at least like this is what they think, but that when the planet is closer and in view, that maybe they actually can hear the prayers like better. And so if the the planet of the god of love is closer, and you put out this prayer or whatever, that it actually is able to have a little bit more impact on your life than if it were way out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's an easy enough thing to just slap into, well, they believe it. Is it something that actually happens?
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, the gods care not for the whims of man a little bit, and so like, it's easily something they could believe and could technically be true. But also maybe the god doesn't feel like it that day.
Exactly.
Yeah, God of Love, like, sorry, I'm in the tub.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's a cool idea too, definitely. Yeah, just the idea of like the world being sort of, like, speaking of gravity in a way, just sort of like, the way these planets like affect what's happening physically is just, it's so cool to me, because it has like this sort of gravity metaphor, but it's also how the gods would work and everything. So it's too cool. Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to mention as well, because one thing we kind of got caught up on was like moons and other minor celestial bodies as well. What I think we should probably just do for the sake of simplicity is say that any moons that are attached to a planet are just part of that god. Anything within that sort of planetary ecosystem is just merely part of that god. Now, what that means is that the moon of Earth, not Earth, but Earth, would also be an aspect of chaos as well.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And so, yeah, now we have that to play off of as well. So that's just a byproduct of that decision. But either way, just for the sake of simplicity.
When you say, like, the moon that represents, like, the god of chaos...
Yeah.
100%, I'm thinking of the moon from Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, scary-ass moon. It's facing the other way, and you're like, it is beautiful this night. And then it turns around, and you're like, oh, my God.
Oh, you're talking about from Majora's Mask?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, specifically the Majora's Mask one with the big-ass scary face.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, that freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah. I know.
That's
Love
like
the...
one of my only friends as a kid.
Your friends are scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of it like turns around, like you're there with your date.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, and you're just like, ah, man, is this the night I should tell her I love her? And then just do it, bro.
Do it.
I don't know if I want to anymore. He's looking at us.
Yeah, he's I'm bashful.
What I did kind of want to do a little bit is have a little bit of a visual idea on what these planets look like.
Sure.
It's not going to be important to many people, basically like astrologers or anyone with a fucking telescope.
Yeah.
But I feel like adding just a little bit of a visual aspect to them will be kind of cool.
Totally. So right off the bat, I gotta know, do you want to have them be the color that we've chosen to represent them already?
I don't know. I feel like we could it could be subject to change. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. Let's go with that off the bat. Immediately we have one that was just arbitrarily designated yellow. Oh yeah, there's also the question of the sun. Do we want the sun to be a god, or do we want the sun to merely be a force of nature?
It's so tough.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a tough decision because it feels very big and important.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like the idea that it is unrelated, and so even like the gods are at least a little bit of mercy of like bigger scheme of creation kind of thing. But it also just seems like such a perfect opportunity to have it be, you know, some sort of like elder god.
Yeah, totally. We didn't have one that was of order, and I know we kind of wanted to. What we could do with that then is the sun isn't necessarily a god, like a conscious being, but it is the law of the universe. You know what I mean? It's not a conscious thing. It doesn't decide. It just merely is.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, all of the gods and their orbits or anything are all subject to, like, the laws of the universe. And, it, like, again, it's more of a force of nature than it is actually a deity. And we could go with that.
Yeah, I think I like that more personally. It just seems very, like, powerful, I guess, in a way, to have... like the gods are above all, but yet they still kind of have, you know, this set parameters that they can even operate in still.
Yeah.
Like they're a little bit bound still. I
Yeah.
think that's cool.
Yeah, a little limitation is an important thing, I think.
All good superheroes have weaknesses.
But yeah, so let's go with that. That it would be also kind of interesting if the sun itself was, like, again, it is the laws of the universe that even the gods have to follow. They can absolutely change things, but within their limits. And it would be an interesting thing if, like, yeah, the creation of humanity not being able to change their will is like sort of something that they discovered they weren't allowed to do.
Yeah.
Like, not knowing, they're like, oh well, I want you to do this, and then like it doesn't work, and they're like, oh, we can't do that? Oh shit. So it's kind of interesting to think of that is something they had to figure out as well, because humanity obviously came after. So for some reason, the laws of nature, the laws of the universe just forbid this, and the gods don't even really know why. So should we just pick one and start from there, basically?
Yeah, just shoot. Throw a dart at the board.
Straight at the iPad. I mean, generic tablet.
Generic, not branded.
Definitely not branded.
Unless you want to pay us. Huh?
I mean, not Apple, generic tablet company.
Tablet company? Any of them.
You want me to bleep out?
Yeah, totally.
It's funny, it's a good bit.
Yeah. Just put up a picture of a pear.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll own Nickelodeon something.
Okay, so I guess let's just start at the top.
Sure.
Top left.
Like a book.
Yeah, exactly. So we have Merileth.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of cool things that planets can have going for them.
See, this one is the color that we had sort of designated as black.
Yeah.
But love, life, spring, lost, death, winter. I feel like you could do so much cooler. That seems like it would be a good one to have, like a more vibrant one.
Well, it could be contrast. I think contrast is the name of the game with this one. So what I pictured in my head is almost a bit of a yin and yang analogy a little bit, although not black and white, but mayhaps like black and like a gold color. I thought that would be cool. A characteristic I came up with is maybe it has 2 moons, but they are on polar opposite sides and always on polar opposite sides.
I thought the same thing.
Nice, good. Cool. Maybe it has like, so it's got like this black color on it and gold color on it, and I'm like, how does that work? It could be like the actual light that is reflected off of the planet is like this sort of golden color, but it's covered by like black clouds at certain times. Black storms that kind of can be seen washing over the planet as well.
That's pretty dope.
So that's pretty cool. You seemed like you had a bit of an idea.
Well,
as well.
I mean, I didn't consider like storms, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Because at first I was just thinking like, what would sort of like the pattern be?
Yeah.
Like, do we have it like? I think it's maybe a little bit too easy to go for like kind of the yin and yang shape.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of like, you know, sort of like almost like spirals kind of thing. So like one end is more black, one end is more gold, and then they like almost kind of like sort of go around each other like that.
There's like a fighting. Yeah. Like it's not perfectly bisected, but there's like moments where one will kind of overtake the other.
But I really like the idea of having it be like the light from the sun that is reflected, whether that be the actual color of the planet or like the gas in the atmosphere or whatever. Reflect as being kind of like a dazzling gold, but then there's always like a constant storms like moving around that envelops, you know, give or take like half of the planet one time. And that's cool to me as well because like it's a beautiful like shining planet but nothing in there can really last permanently until it's like completely destroyed by like this moving storm that wraps around it.
I love the idea of like, because like clouds can get like black, but I'm like, this should be like Venta black. You know what I mean? Just like, I just think it would be cool. It'd have like add like a layer of like kind of texture to it visually too. And I really like the idea of the perfect
the moons. I mean, do you want to have them be colored?
Should we have? Would they be the same colors as like the storms versus the? Because that feels almost too convenient.
No, I don't necessarily think they should be, you know, the same color. It does feel convenient.
Let's maybe just leave them as like a sort of generic sort of color. So we do have a god of the sun and light.
We do.
It could be just the one that's closest. Like it could be like, what is that?
Mercury?
Okay, I was going to say that, but I had doubts. I'm pretty sure it's Mercury.
Oh my god.
Shows how much we learned in school. Oops. But yeah, it's like, again, I still like the idea of the sun being its own thing. So making a god, it just puts one god in so much more importance over the other.
Exactly.
And so I don't like that. But the idea of the sun and light, like having a god that, because like there's the sun as like law and order and the ways of the universe, but then there's how the sun affects the planet and the people on it. You know what I mean?
I like the idea of this one being like the closest to the sun. So therefore, like whenever the sun is in the sky, unless it's behind the sun, this one is also visible. Mind you, you have to like, you know, don't look at the sun, everybody. But like it'll always be like somewhere in sight whenever the sun is in sight.
Totally.
I think that's a cool thing, and then it's kind of the representative of the sun.
Yeah, that would sort of give it the idea of the god of order. Like it's the one, we have the body of law and like the laws that are in, say, a country. But then there is a judge who, in instances where the laws need to be interpreted, they are the person who deals with that. So it's like the law exists outside of the singular person, but
they're the chosen representative of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're sort of the one who can read the laws and actually kind of interpret them. They're sort of the messenger of law in a sort of way. I like that idea. So yeah, definitely they're going to be right beside the sun. And yeah, I love the idea. Like any astronomer, it's just like there's this other planet, but I can't look at it. I think I'll burn my fucking
they're
retinas.
taping like sun-shaped pieces of paper like over the end of their thing, like ow.
So that would be cool.
Yeah.
But so how do we want that to represent that visually, though?
Well, I think since it's already going to be difficult to look at, and it's going to be reflecting an insane amount of the sun's light, I think that it's going to be kind of hard to say what it really looks like, but it's probably going to always kind of be, you know, a brightly lit, like yellowish white, probably, or maybe red color, because that's kind of what you're going to get from hot light.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, that could be a cool idea that, like, most of the time when you're trying to look at it, it's, like, relatively indistinguishable from, like, how the sun looks just because it's near impossible to see otherwise. But then in the times when it's the most distant from the sun and you can get a look, it has, like, this sort of, like, metallic, like, red.
Yeah.
Like, the metallic, like, oh, it's been on fire.
Yeah,
for a long
molten.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, and I mean, the idea of it being, like, we made Maroleth's very, very visually interesting, but the idea of the one that is sort of law just being a very consistent coloring, also kind of checks out as well.
It is also unique in that the other ones are going to have their own distinct features and designs and stuff like that, and this one does.
Yeah.
It's the only one that looks like that, because
Yeah.
the other ones all look different.
Yeah.
So even though it might not be super excitingly colored, it is still distinct.
It'll be, distinct from the others in the fact that it is relatively plain. I do like, also the idea of, because Sol was going to be their name, the idea of, like, the god of joy and peace kind of always being there, being close enough to the sun where you're pretty much, like, praying directly to the sun, and the god of joy and peace kind of almost always having, like, the same proximity is kind of, like, it's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
It's always there for you to
So
ask.
there. So gotta look for it.
Yep, you gotta ask for its favor, and it's hard to find,
You
but
just gotta look for it, even if it hurts.
yeah.
Oh, there it is.
That's a simple one, but I like that. Let's go with that. So next up is going to be
Zenyarin.
Zenyarin, our boy of knowledge, magic, and arts and crafts. You got any kickstarts on this one?
It looks like a big wooden block with the letter L on it. Floating around in space. No, I don't know. I think that this one is potentially a cool one, because knowledge and magic made me think of, like, blues and greens. I want rings on this bad boy.
Okay.
But arts and crafts kind of screams almost like, or at least art.
Yeah. Very colorful.
Yeah, but also I guess that's, you know, art is interpretive, and it's, you know, so art doesn't have to look like a palette of all kinds of, you know, colors. I don't know. Maybe I do kind of think I like blues and greens and rings.
Blues and green. I was thinking, very blue-green. I was also thinking kind of like maybe a reddish-orange as well to add some warm color to it. I don't know what I'm thinking of. I'm kind of picturing, like, the planet being, like, this sort of orangish red, but, like, there's lots of liquid on it that's this bluish-green. Okay. And I'm not thinking bluish-green like water. I'm thinking bluish-green like kind of like oil slicky sort of look.
Well, hear me out. What if we do, like, a red and green planet?
Okay.
And a blue ring that kind of fades, like, blue closest to the, or vice versa, blue closest to the planet, and then as it fades out, it goes, like, purple or something like that.
Oh,
get a bunch of colors in there.
Yeah.
And then it kind of feels like the more magical aspect of it, the ring, can kind of represent magic, and maybe, like, the more magic-y colors that we kind of assume of when we think magic.
Everyone thinks blue when they think magic.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. And then the sort of the red and green being contrasting colors.
Yeah.
Like, I want it to be very speckled with these colors, like with the reds and greens. But yeah, no, that's kind of that's a cool idea. And yeah, the ring, I was thinking, it's like, there's got to be a ring.
Got to be a ring on
everyone.
The one. Yeah.
If you like it, you would have put a ring on it.
Yeah.
Everyone loves Saturn. Saturn's like so many people's favorite planet just because it's got that. So, but yeah, so the one of magic is an easy, cool one to put that on. So that's a cool idea. That's a good little visual representation. Next up, we got Taridi.
Taridi, the goddess of courage, secrets, darkness, the moon, and
the moon.
The moon.
That's what we have written down here at the very least. So here we have this problem again of one is kind of representing a celestial body that it isn't. Because the moon is going to be a part of chaos. So how do we do that? The sun was easy enough, but the moon, How do I fix that?
See, we mentioned a million episodes ago that sometimes you write yourself into a corner. It happens.
Yeah. And sometimes you just gotta scrap stuff. Do we need to scrap the moon idea, or do we find some sort of strange justification for it? Ooh,
Well, yeah.
maybe this planet is only visible at night.
Yeah, I know. That was what I immediately thought of too when we were talking about the sun one.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, I don't know how to do that. How do you make it only visible at night?
Maybe it's so tiny and it's so faint that the amount of light it actually emits at any given time is...
Ooh! Okay, I got a cool idea.
All right, shoot.
What if this planet is the same color as the sky is during daytime, but then when it turns nighttime, it glows almost like the same kind of color that the sky like is during daytime?
Interesting.
So then it's only visible at night, kind of looks like a big old moon,
Yeah.
but then also like it represents darkness. You can only see it at the nighttime, but it provides also a little bit of light, exposing the secrets in the dark and all that kind of thing. And it's kind of like a beacon to give you courage in the night. And
Yeah,
stuff.
totally. No,
Boom!
that's...
We did it, baby. We're so back.
yeah, no, that's actually a real... I like that idea. It's almost camouflaged.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is
It
kinda
is
cool.
up there somewhere,
Yeah.
listening, watching. But you can only see it when it's dark because then the sky changes back to dark.
Yeah,
instead of-
Well, that was kind of also the interesting, like, this god was, just to reiterate, the god of courage, secrets, darkness, and the moon. Courage and, like, secrets and darkness are not... They don't necessarily jive. And I do kind of, when coming up with gods, like to add stuff that contrasts with how stuff normally does in
100%.
real life. And so, yeah, the idea of courage being the courage to be able to go out in darkness. And so, yeah, having that one thing that's consistent in the sky all the time is, during the night is a good way to do that. It also kind of makes sense for it to be, the god of secrets, because like it's not
completely hidden during the day. And
yeah,
stuff,
exactly.
right?
It's
Yeah.
like you can't see me.
Yeah.
You can't see me. And so for people to kind of associate it with the moon because it's always there is kind of a cool. Maybe it's also like in the sky visually about the same size as the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that could add a level of consistency as well
Definitely.
to that. Maybe its position is also related, but that's a little bit overly specific. But maybe we could do something like that. But that's cool.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like this sort of sky blue color.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you get up close to it, is there going to be anything that's necessarily different about it?
I think it would be neat to have like a cloud-like color and texture to it. That is like, maybe it's just like patterns on the actual surface instead of like the storms that we've got on the Marileth. But that way, like, you know, it doesn't even necessarily look like just the sky. It's almost blending in as if there's just a faint cloud there as well. So you can't pick it apart like, oh, there's a perfectly circular portion or whatever. It's got a little bit of extra camouflage.
I also I had a thought that it might be interesting, and we don't maybe we don't know why this happens exactly, but it's hard. It's okay. Have you ever looked at the sun?
I have. Don't
Yeah.
tell my doctor.
Yeah. No, I haven't looked at the sun before. That's crazy. But okay, so don't do
Don't do
this.
it. Don't do it. We
Don't do this.
condone looking
Take
into
our
sun.
word for it. But you know when you look into the sun like a cool smart person.
Yeah, I do.
And then you look away and there's like kind of that little weird dot in your
Sure is.
vision.
Retinal scorching.
Yeah. And but like when you look at other things, like you can't really see them. What if it had like kind of that, not the scorching and destroying your retinas, please don't do this at home.
Don't do this at home.
Yeah, reason, but like, you know how like when you look at something, it's kind of just like not there, or you can only kind of make out the edges of it. What if that sort of happens when you look at it? Like you try and make direct eye contact with it, like you're looking directly at it, and it's kind of just like kind of there, kind of not. But you look at it out of the corner of your eye, and it's
That's interesting.
and it's perfectly there.
That's really interesting.
And so the idea of trying to observe it as well is kind of difficult for some reason. So you can't see it during the day. There's light coming from it at night, like the moon. Like you wouldn't say like, oh, I can't see the light from the moon. But when you try and observe it, it's weird.
I think it's a really cool idea. I think that kind of helps the Secret's Darkness moon aspect.
And less the courage.
Less the courage, and maybe less the moon as well. Because having it be visible as, like, the guy and whatever, and then also kind of looks like also the moon, and even plays the role of a moon a little bit. I think that...
You want to keep that consistent?
Yeah.
No, okay, that's fair enough.
But
It's
a
just
cool
an idea.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the idea that it's difficult to study even for astronomers.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, that's fine. We'll just keep that consistent then. But yeah, so they have like sort of white clouds, very similar to Earth's clouds, like you were thinking.
Yeah, but it's just like a coincidence. It's patterned on like the actual terrain.
Oh, so it's not an actual cloud.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
it's like this sort of sky blue and white
Yeah,
color.
and so like even like when it spins, like there's still kind of like random patterns of like almost cloud-esque coloration to it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. Okay, we can go with that.
Cool.
All right, next up, we got I think Ryfel.
Yeah, we went for Ryfel.
Ryfel, god of storms, war, sea, and the hunt. Sea and storms immediately just makes me think Neptune.
Totally. That's fair.
Like, it jumps out at me so hard, but I don't want to just make it like a blue planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the idea of like war also kind of emanating from it. What if it was blue, like it was like this sort of deep blue, but it had like this sort of really dark ring around the middle? Not like a Saturn ring, but just like
a band.
Around it, and maybe it's like it's sort of really dark in the middle, and then it sort of fades out into like the blue tone as it sort of goes.
I have a theory.
Okay.
I have an idea.
Okay, shoot.
It can be like a deep blue.
Okay.
Classic.
Yeah.
But then what if it has sort of like, forgive me, astrologists, like an eye, like is that Saturn?
Yeah.
Jupiter? Jupiter has the eye?
Yeah.
It's got like a big old eye on it.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, and as it rotates, like occasionally that like becomes visible on Earth, and so that kind of also like almost represents in a way kind of like the hunt as well, because it kind of looks like a predator's eye, like maybe like a bird eye or something like that. And like it kind of like glances down watchfully.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool idea. Maybe it's along like this sort of black band where just like it opens up into this sort of eye shape. Because again, the Jupiter eye is just so iconic.
It's super iconic. Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so that kind of that's kind of cool if it does have almost like this sort of predator feeling eye attached to it. Yeah, that's cool. What color should the eye be?
I mean, I kind of pictured I can't stop, man. I can't stop. Help me. I personally kind of pictured it being like a really dark spot. So it's almost like a blue eye, and that's like the cornea.
But then it kind of blends in with everything that's around it, though. If it is blue, just like the
no, dark, like almost black.
But isn't it going to be in that black band at the same time? My first thought was to contrast it with a warm color.
Okay.
We could do like a sort of yellow or reddish sort of color, especially if it is going to be like a sort of predator eye, like an eagle has like those sort of like really, really striking yellow eyes, and so the idea of that sort of emerging out out kind of like if you see that in the sky, it's kind of like whoa, like it's watching me or it's like hunting me. We could go with that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, let's lock that in. That's my final answer. No deal, Howie.
Shit.
Well, you can have the deal. I'm gonna not have the deal. Okay, so finally, Macnas. Luck, safety, harvest, and trade.
So harvest and trade, and honestly luck, that screams green. Also safety, green light.
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of green. I think the green was the right color for it right off the bat.
Yeah, it's fate had its sunk its teeth into that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so how green though?
I think I kind of almost pictured it looking like even like texture wise, like from the ground you kind of go like that almost looks like a very lush jungle. Yeah. Like so like tree verdant jungle green, and then I guess with like different colorations in different ways, but almost looking like the if you were looking down at the canopies of trees, like that kind of texture, that kind of color.
Yeah, but it's like it's not actually, but it definitely has that above sort of look to it. One thing I kind of wanted to do just for a planet as well is have like one with just a fuck ton of moons.
Okay, yeah.
And one thing we haven't actually discussed very much is like actual size on these planets. And I know one thing that like actual Jupiter does for us is ganks a whole bunch of meteors and keeps us safe,
big brother planet,
from a lot of spatial debris.
I think that's cool for the luck and safety planet.
And so it's constantly catching and reeling in a lot of stuff that would
space junk and asteroids.
And so it's big, and maybe it's also just like it's very slow to actually come around, and so when it is in the sky, like it's there for a while, but it's also gone for a while. Which would kind of have a little bit to do with
good luck, bad luck in the harvest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's kind of tied to a bit of a cycle sort of thing, but it's also not around seasonally. But it's just like when you see it finally coming back, you're like, oh, cool, good, awesome.
It also kind of feels like a sort of trade situation as well, because you have to leave for a while to come back to make your profits.
Well, and you'll have your good years and your bad years with trade as well, and so. The idea of it being like this sort of gigantic, slow-moving, but very helpful one would be kind of cool.
I like that a lot.
What if we add like a little bit of yellow into that texture, just to add like a
little bit of yellow, and I don't know if we want to like make its moons kind of like little yellowy bits, or if we want to have like coloration and like patterns or shapes on it.
It would be cool if the moons were very different colors from each other. Like they have kind of a consistent color, because again, moons, like they're basically just going to be space debris. They're going to be pretty probably consistent in their like what they're made out of. So yeah, the idea that like again, if like you're observing it, you can see like a sort of red one, a couple of sort of blue ones that are different tones, like passing in front of it.
I like the idea that like at one point this giant chunk of actual gold, like a massive chunk, like from somewhere in space, we don't know, crashes into it and like leaves a visible like smearing on the planet of gold, and some chunks blew off and became moons. So it's got literal moons of gold.
Yeah, that would be cool too. But yeah, I like the multicolor sort of like picture this moon if you had tossed a whole bunch of giant Skittles at it. And they have like all of those sort of rotating around it and stuff like that. And sometimes they collide together as well. Like it's covered. Yeah, I really like that. And I think that adds some really, really distinct just visuals to the whole thing. Yeah, and the reason I did kind of want to cover this, because it's not super important, but I feel like the idea, since the gods are going to be planets and therefore astronomy is going to be very important, I feel like this creates the idea of astronomers being sort of a very important thing as well. Yeah. At least in like the sort of upper class, higher echelon, like among like kings and stuff like that, because they'll be obsessed with fate and how things are going to turn out.
It blends a little bit of science and also like faith as well, which is cool. Yeah. When you get a little bit of cross section between those two,
Yeah, so I think adding the visuals to them, one, just adds some visuals to the gods, but also
a little bit of depth.
Yeah, a little bit of depth to the whole thing. So that's all of them, I guess. Yeah. So I guess we'll cut it off there.
Cool.
Next episode, I guess this is the end of our first pass.
Our first pass over, and then the next time around we'll kind of come back for some of the things that we left hanging. We will, I think, first and foremost, we'll do a recap of kind of what we have built so far for people following along, and then we'll come back around and start doing a little bit more specific things. So stick around for that, because that's where some of the most fun comes in.
Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks. Bye. Hey, welcome to the end card. Thanks for watching the video, and we got some more comments to go through. But first, before that, I want you to scroll down a little bit. There's a little thing there. It's the subscribe button. And he's got a little friend called the like button. I want you to click both of those. It would be really cool, and we'd appreciate it quite a bit. But until you finish that, we can wait just a couple seconds.
They're good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So a couple of comments we got. We got this one from Mattis Shervinack 7375. Am I dyslexic? I might be. Anyway.
Yeah, dude, I read that pretty easy. That's on you.
Well, I'm sorry, Mattis. Guess that's my problem. I much appreciate your ideas. In my opinion, an interesting variation of the science fair would be someone showcasing a new superweapon, like Pym particles, the Captain America serum, or just a nuclear bomb. Of course, it then gets stolen and the only creator killed. You know the drill.
We know the drill.
We do.
They get a little bit disappeared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Invent a little too close to the sun, as it were. But yeah, definitely, that's definitely something you got to think about when only one person has the means to produce something that is powerful.
Yeah.
Is you're gonna have people that want it, and there's only one thing in between, two things in between them and that thing.
Yeah.
Them and their creation. But if it's like a nuclear bomb, you're not gonna use that in self-defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nuclear bombs in self-defense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All right, and then I got one here from Time Testified. Easy. They say, "Hi, I loved your ideas, and I think the concept of planets being deities is cool as shit. Have a good day. This is a fun listen." First off, thank you very much. That's very sweet of you, and we appreciate your comment. And also, that was entirely your idea, so thank you for that idea as well. But we hope that you're having fun listening and watching, and if you're world building along or anything, we'd love to hear more of comments from you about what you got going on. But yeah, we appreciate everybody that hops in our comments and has something nice to say. It's always a blast, and I'm very grateful as well that we have so far a very supportive and engaged listener base as well.
Yeah, that's cool as hell to not only hear appreciation, but it's so cool for us to, when you guys are sharing either things you've made or things that you're coming up with currently. It's just so cool to see the spreading of everyone's creativity in this sort of melting pot. It's just we would like to see that stuff a lot, so keep it up.
It's nice to have our ideas validated as being cool, but then it's also so cool to see other people's ideas and be like, yeah, that's cool too. You know, it feels like a cool little community we got going on. That's awesome.
Yeah, so thank you guys a lot.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Also, I thought it was time testified.
Anyway,
I'm kidding.
Thanks for commenting, and if you want to be right about there in the next one, then leave us a comment below, or you can always follow us on our Instagram and get in our DMs over there, and you can listen to this here on YouTube or over there on Spotify. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.